The Book 3 Tempest Trials continues on, and we got a returning character showing up in the story, and as our boss, Leaf is back in what I can only assume will be his ascended attire, and if he's like Ymir, then he may be coming very soon, so if that interests you, then you may want to start saving. He is a sword cavalier this time with a relatively simple weapon, excites specials, -6 attack and defense debuffs, Omni Breaker, and Guard. He is actually pretty fast in the boss stage, and generally those stats should be similar on release, so he's changing it up a bit. Leaf will probably retain his unique B skill and open the future, but no guarantees there. His unique skill might get tweaked, kind of just like how the new Lyn got a unique A skill, but it's pretty different from her legendary version. Regardless, Ascended Leaf looks sick, and does kind of imply we probably get another Thracier too. I am a bit confused on the whole Tempest plot though, because I thought Leaf and Thracier were on their Avengers type recruitment thing for Thor. The description for the new Leaf also confirms this is the one who had a contract with Thor, so I really don't know what's happening. Maybe we'll get some answers though. Back to Tempest Trials, we're up to Life and Death 3, +5 attack and speed, -5 defense and res. For real though, for rewards you can get up to 42 orbs, 11,000 feathers, and 80 sacred coins. This month we have Ephemeral 9 divine codes and an earth blessing for legendary Deirdre. For circuit seals, no crazy distant counter this time. We have speed and defense form and speed and res oath. The reward unit for this time around is going to be Flame Tribe Mordecai. You can grab a 4-star and 5-star copy. We'll talk about it more later on. Our first new Sacred Seal is Speed and Defense Form 3. If unit is within 3 spaces of an ally, grant Speed and Defense plus X to unit during combat. X is equal to 2 times the number of allies within 2 spaces, plus 1 at the end. Max of +7 in Speed and Defense for 3 nearby allies. So another form Sacred Seal, and these are pretty decent in my opinion. +7 stat potential is pretty good from the seal slot, although it requires tight formations, which isn't always possible. Personally, I find myself using them more often than the older bond seals, so I would recommend upgrading these first nowadays. I also think they are just straight better than stances, since both of these are typically for more defensive tactics, which means you're probably near allies anyway. It also works on either phase, and if you do need some space, these solo seals are still top tier. In terms of potential users, we have gotten a couple of high speed and defense units in the spotlight. The new Flame Rinka could invest into those stats, although I think she wants a bit more attack. There was also Brave Dimitri with his Refine, since he does have distant counter. I usually use speed and defense solo on him, but form isn't bad, especially if you plan to surround him with some supporting allies. Overall, pretty decent circuit seal. I'll probably upgrade it myself. Next, we got Speed and Res Oath 3. At start of turn, if unit is adjacent to an ally, grant +5 speed and res to unit for 1 turn. These are only usable by flyers and infantry units. Oath skills are really easy to use, self-buff since you just need to be next to an adjacent ally. Their tier 4 versions are crazy good now, but for the tier 3 in the Sacred Seal slot, it's kinda up in the air. You can give field buffs to a unit via allies, and the C slot is usually open for skills like these. You then slot in an in-combat buff for more stats in the Sacred Seal slot. However, flyers have range C skills, and even infantry have some neat C skills you may want to use instead. Ideally, I would only use Oath Sacred Seals if you absolutely need field buffs for some purpose. Some weapons require an active bonus, and you could also pair it with Attack and Defense Oath in the C slot. It is on some free-to-play units if you want it. However, you also have some special cases like Thea and her Ice Maltet Refine. This weapon is a huge stat stick, and it gives Thea +6 attack and defense as a field buff every single turn. The reason is because she has bonus doubler, so Speed and Res Oath as a Sacred Seal, you can fully buff it to take advantage of that. This opens up for Thea to use a range C skill normally. If you don't need Speed and Res field buffs, just swap it out. That's the beauty of the Sacred Seal slot. Very specific use case, but one nonetheless. Overall, I don't think Oath Seals are must upgrades. Typically, if you can put them in the C slot, then it's better to just take a Sacred Seal with an in-combat boost.
You seek a match with Mordecai. Mordecai accepts. Friendly contests are a good way to show strength. Wish we could settle everything this way.
Our reward unit for this Tempest Trials is Flame Mordecai. Despite this being a Flame Tribe themed banner, there's also the sumo theme going on, and Mordecai definitely represents that the most. Instead of blue, he is now a green infantry beast unit, and he's going to be our first Gen 7 beast. For stats, he has a beefy 48 HP, 43 attack, 29 speed, 43 defense, and 24 res. Tons of health, great attack and defense, and actually a little bit of speed too. Res is still his weak spot, but he does have a Res Super Boon. You can also take his attack Super Boon as well. Not too surprising, but we got a couple tanky free beast units, and this Mordecai will be another addition. As a beast unit, Mordecai does have a unique weapon, but it is drawing from Rinka's inheritable sword. Fiery Fang has 14 might and grants plus 3 defense. At start of combat, if Mordecai has more than 25% HP, he gets plus 6 attack and defense during combat and inflicts an attack and defense debuff on the foe equal to 20% of his defense stat at start of combat. In addition, the foe cannot make a follow-up attack. You then have the Beast Transformation bonus for infantry units, which grants plus 7 damage on special trigger, and you got Tempo, aka no guard and no special charge. Fiery Fang has the same effect as Flame Goombai Plus, but plus 6 instead of plus 5 attack and defense. The debuffs are the same, but then Mordecai gets plus 3 extra defense and a fall prevention. Not too fancy, not bad either. Like I said, for the Flame Goombai, it is just stats and debuffs, but it's incredibly easy to use since it just depends on your user's defense stat. Like Rinka, Mordecai has great base defense and he gets an extra plus 3. At 46 defense, you inflict minus 9 attack and defense on the foe, so pretty solid debuffing value, and you prevent a follow-up. That little extra ability is nice for general usage, and you can make people have to deal with it. For example, the new Lyn is blazing fast, but she cannot double Mordecai without getting offensive no follow-up in some way. It's a check, and there's a reason no follow-up is so dang valuable. Regarding the transformation bonus, Fiery Fang isn't fully dependent on specials, but no guard and or special charge never hurts to have. No special charge is really good at slowing down extra cooldown skills though, so if you're going to be a tanky boy like Mordecai, it's pretty good to have. For the rest of Mordecai's base kit, it's alright. He still has Smite like his OG self. He then has Fortress Defense and Res 2, plus 4 flat defense and res, minus 3 attack. As for attack and defense gap 3, you buff the ally with the highest attack plus defense total with plus 5 attack and defense. Sadly, it does not include the user. Although, you could use this with the new Speed and Res Oath Secret Seal if you want to fully buff someone up like Thea. Alright, so base kit is nothing too special. The idea with Fortress Defense and Res is to bump up Mordecai's base defense stat, which means more debuffs from Fiery Fang. However, if you get another minus 1 attack and defense debuff with the skill, you're trading that for minus 3 attack anyway. Personally, I do not think you need to stack flat defense skills like Fortress Defense or Res. The 1, maybe 2 extra debuff points are not worth it compared to getting another combative effect, at least to me. You also are losing attack, so it's a bit counterproductive. Obviously, the main draw of Flame Mordecai is his stats in Fiery Fang. If you want some fodder, attack and defense gap 3 is rare, so this is the easiest way to get a hold of it. If you're merging Mordecai up, the Neutral Nature grants plus 1 HP, attack, and defense. That's perfectly fine to keep. For Trait Fruits, the Res Super Boon is interesting for a full-on tank build. Attack Super Boon also never hurts, and for Fiery Fang, the Debuff Boon might push you into the next threshold. That will depend on merges, Dragonflyers, Blessings, etc. For example, with plus 10 merges and the plus 3 defense from Fiery Fang, you already hit 50 defense. I wouldn't feel too pressured to take the defense boon unless you know you can get to 55 base defense or 60, so on and so on. As a Hero Grow Beast infantry unit, very little competition. The only non-5 star is New Year's Keaton, who also has high defense, but I would say Mordecai is basically just an updated version of him. Resolved Fang grants plus 5 defense, inflicts minus 5 on the enemy, and if Keaton has 10 or more defense than them, he gets plus 7 true damage per hit. Well, Fiery Fang is plus 6 attack and defense, and with 46 defense, Mordecai already inflicts minus 9 attack and defense on the foe. That's already more damage as long as you aren't negative, and you get big attack debuffs too. Unfortunately, Keaton also missed the new updated Infantry Beast Transformation bonus, so he doesn't have Tempo. He's gonna have to wait for Ever Fine, which is very far in the future. Sad to see, but Flame Mordecai is kinda just here to replace him. The only other Green Beast infantry is Bridal Nyla, who's a 5-star unit. She is more focused on offense and speed. Just looking at the other colors, you got the original Blue Mordecai, but he's got a support niche. New Year's Kiza is pretty similar. Also has a lot of attack defense with bonus damage, but instead of attack debuffs, they get cooldown reduction when they get hit, which does synergize with no guard if you want to spam specials. You then have Fallen Muaram, who is the most recent free-to-play beast, but he's too busy going on the offensive. Not going to fully explore the topic, but as a physical damage melee unit, you could compare Mordecai to Axe Infantry too. We have a ton of those guys, but I would say he holds his own with Fiery Fang. Basically, it's like an Axe version of Rinka's sword, but with fall prevention. If you can transform, then it's even stronger. For the most part, like Rinka, this Mordecai already receives a good amount of attack and defense debuffs from Fiery Fang due to his high base defense stat. Even if you went down to something like 40, that's still minus 8 attack and defense, which is pretty good for pretty much just existing. These weapons just require you to be healthy and upkeep your defense, and it rewards you with a whole bunch of stats. It's not fancy, but not needing to worry about positioning or stat checks is pretty nice. Now, unlike Rinka and her sword, Mordecai does get tempo when transformed. It's definitely good to have, but he still functions fine without it. Mordecai does deny follow-up as well, so he'll stop attackers who do not bring offense no follow-up or a free follow-up. And with his okay 29 base speed, you can kind of keep up with slower units who might be able to or might be trying to use guaranteed follow-up attacks. For examples, guys like the new Muspo with 26 speed and a follow-up who aren't necessarily running more speed skills can be stopped from doubling. If you give Mordecai a bit more speed from buffs or whatnot, then he might be more annoying to the non-super slow units. I wouldn't necessarily stack all speed, but it could be fun too. For his build, you can keep Fortress Defense Res 2 if you got nothing else. That'll take him to 50 defense flat, which is minus 10 attack and defense in combat. As a tankier unit, Mordecai would like to double, and Quick Riposte is your main option. You can pair it with Steady Breath, and that's a good Sacred Seal in general to get more specials. For example, Ignis would deal massive damage for Mordecai, and he gets another +7 when transformed. For some other skill options, you can use the Sacred Seal slot for Quick Riposte. Other A skills can be Defense and Res Form 3, Attack and Defense Bond 3, maybe something spicy like Fury. If you want to still buff allies, you can use Attack and Defense Gap, or you can also use something like Attack and Defense Link. This will also buff Mordecai himself, and that gets you another debuff point. Another self buff is Attack and Defense O within the C slot. You could take Attack Smoke 2 if you plan to take on a whole bunch of enemies. Since the only thing you need for Fiery Fang is to stay healthy, you could also use Noontime with Steady Breath. It's going to instantly charge up after you tank a hit. For more premium skills, I do feel like there is potential for future infantry builds utilizing the new Finish 4 A skills and the Bulwark B skill. Finish 4 gives you a lot of stats, and if your special is ready or triggered, you get +5 true damage per hit and 7 HP healing per hit. With Bulwark, you get the Super Obstruct, -4 attack and defense debuffs, and 7 HP after combat. More debuffs to stack with Fiery Fang, and Mordecai would have 2 sources of healing while being able to protect his team with Obstruct. If transformed, he then adds tempo into these skills, and Steady Breath can give you more cooldown, which can help proc Finish 4. You would have to use a 2 cooldown special, and I actually think you could run something like a defensive special like Escutcheon. You can't pre-charge it without help, but Mordecai would have it for later fights, and the whole idea of this build is to just not die. Any extra source of damage reduction would be nice, and Steady Breath can recharge it for you, especially if no guard is active. With no special charge, you negate Blade type cooldown. You can run something like Fatal Smoke to stop healing, or you can use Pulse Smoke to slow down enemy specials. Maybe Contour Control could work with Bulwark as well. Now, you do miss out on some key effects like Guard or Follow-up Attack. In fact, someone like Lord Asker will be a pretty decent candidate of this setup. Just add Finish 4 to his kit. At the moment, we only have attack and res finish, but if there was an attack and defense or defense and res finish, then those might be better options for Mordecai. If you're not a fan of Finish 4, then Tier 3 dual stances are great. Still, you give Mordecai the very solid tank baseline of guard and fall prevention. Again, no special charge can be very helpful here, and unless the enemy has no guard themselves, you can completely stop special charging altogether. For B skills, besides Quick Riposte, low attack and defense, always solid for more debuffing. Special Spiral could be fun since Mordecai lacks follow-ups anyway. It just makes it easier to get back to Ignis or Aether. In the C slot, you could run Joint Hone Defense. In fact, it's on Dancer Quan for this month's Ephemera 9. Bonus skill, Quan also has attack and defense bond 4, which you could use on Mordecai as well. If you don't have a combative C skill, with his high HP, Mordecai can run Infantry Pulse or Panic Ploy, etc. You could also go for Pulse Tie or Sudden Panic in the B slot. As I was mentioning before, I feel like you could speed stack this guy. Fiery Fang has so many debuffs going for it and stats, it could allow for some freedom to invest in speed or res. Technically speaking, bonus doubler grants a bunch of stats total, but you're gonna have to fully buff up. Mordecai wouldn't mind +12 to all stats for sure if you can avoid lulls. Overall, Flame Mordecai is pretty nice for a unit. He is our first Gen 7 Beast unit. Lots of BST if you want to merge for arena scoring. His weapon is pretty easy to use, and you don't have to stack purely all flat defense. He already gets a good amount of debuffs, and you could just use him with field buffs, mythic or legendaries that boost defense, etc. Every 5 points of defense is what counts. One thing that can make Mordecai stand out as a frontline tank is tempo. I do think no special charge is good because you can screw up special timings for attackers, and a lot of those units depend on the extra cooldown to get the job done. A big issue with beast units is transforming. We have a couple of exceptionally scary armored dragons, and those could be used with Far Safe to cover Mordecai while letting him transform. Kinegas also works. In the end, Flame Mordecai is a solid free beast and he's not overly complicated. You just need to focus on your own defense stat, and even then you don't have to dedicate everything into it. Resistance is his weaker stat and he does like damage reduction or fall, but he brings a lot of attack debuffs to stay tanky and the very simple but effective fall prevention. Mordecai also has some speed to work with, and I imagine some will probably try to stack speed, which could indeed be annoying. Relatively speaking, pretty flexible in build options, but if you want to KO stuff, then you need some specials or follow-up attacks. That will lower your options down a bit. Still, I think this is a pretty good ult for Mordecai, definitely respectable. That's all I got for this video. Go and earn those Tempest Trials rewards. With Ascended Leaf almost surely being summonable at some point soon in the future, you may want to prepare for that. And like I said, decent chance Thracier also comes back as well. Thank you for watching. See you guys in the next video.